Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we have the president of the National Student Union going toe-to-toe with Piers Morgan. And basically what she's doing is she is advocating for trigger warnings to be present in the students' syllabuses in school, okay? So I'm just letting you know, I remember being in school and there was no trigger warnings. And for the most part, especially in history class, yes, some of the stuff was graphic, but it wasn't that bad. Like, come on now, seriously, right? But anyway, this video gets wild. This video gets crazy. They go at it. If you're sensitive, there's the door. We're getting right into it. Let's rock.
Completely nuts. But I'm joined now by Lissa Kennedy, the president of the National Union of Students, who presumably, good evening to you, by the way.
Good evening.
I know you've had a tough journey from Croydon. every journey from Croydon stuff, right?
Look,
I have to say that joke with Susanna Reid. You went to the same school as Susanna Reid.
I did indeed.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a warning. A trigger warning. Look, this report to me was incredibly damaging. You're representing the National Union of Students. What's going on at our universities? Why have you all become the enemy of free speech? Why do you all get triggered by everything? Why have you all become such snowflakes?
Interesting that you want to position students as enemies of free speech when it's the very opposite. In fact, this report shows that so many students are welcoming the idea of a free speech champion, but also are welcoming the idea that we can hold multiple truths, that yes, we have to uphold freedom of speech, but we also need to put in place protections to make sure that our campuses are a safe space for the evolving people who are coming into them.
What does that mean?
And if you want to ask what that means, it means that when you've got someone who has views that are obviously going to spark outrage, that you give a heads up to the people coming. These are common sense kind of things that students are talking about. And in fact, if I may finish my point, when you talk to people in local communities, when you talk to ordinary people and you talk about the real realities of these measures that students are suggesting, like giving a heads up to people or like, helping facilitate protests and so on, people on the ground agree that these are just common sense things to avoid any...
I don't know who you're talking to, but they don't.
I don't know who you're talking to.
Most people think this is all completely crackers.
What is crackers?
Well, let me go through. Let me go through.
Crackers?
What do you need trigger warnings for about stuff you may read or stuff a professor may say? Why do you need trigger warnings? I mean, what happens? You literally have this sound.
I think this is a pretty
Does that go off in
Obviously, you don't do that. I think what we're seeing here is actually what the report warns about. It's people like you who are creating these kind of inflammatory headlines and responses to what is a pretty
I've just read the report.
Issue.
No,
you've said that there's going to be a sound played out in classrooms. That's not what's happening in universities. If it was a joke, it wasn't very funny.
That was a joke. You may not find my humour funny, but it was intended as a joke.
Okay.
However, I do not understand the concept of a trigger warning for something you may read or hear at university. The whole point of university is to be challenged.
It's to be critical. And in fact, it's
students to be challenged.
It's students who are... No, it's about learning to be critical of the things that you see and hear and absorb around you. And in fact, it's students who are standing up
and tolerant.
The purpose of an education is not to produce tolerance.
Here's what Ricky Gervais said about free speech. And tell me if...
Real quick, just to interject. The only time I think it's necessary to have any sort of trigger warning, maybe, is if you're in like a CPR class or resuscitation class, and they talk about like something very violent, like a case that could happen where, trigger warning, just letting you know if somebody gets ejected, or out of a car, and you need to do CPR or because of whatever happened, right? Or maybe if you're swimming and you have to do CPR on somebody or something, like maybe even at that point. But I'm very curious to see what exactly would need a trigger warning.
Do you think he's right? If you don't believe in free speech with people who you disagree with, and even hate for what they stand for, then you don't believe in free speech.
No, you don't. But if you don't believe that freedom of speech has the legal limitations that it has always had in democratic countries when it comes to the Equalities Act and other forms of limits that have been always put on freedom of speech, then you also don't believe in freedom of speech. You believe in freedom from consequence. And those are different things.
I think you should be absolutely held to the fire. There should be consequences to what you say, and you should be challenged, and there should be debate. What I can't get my head around is that 86% of students now want trigger warnings on course content, which might upset students.
All we're really saying here is that it's going to note what's in the course. That's called a bibliography.
What would you find too painful?
Are you against bibliography?
What would you find?
Are you against bibliography?
What would you find?
Are you against?
Let me ask you. Let me ask you. What would you find too triggering to read? Give me an example.
I can't give you a personal example because it's not my
86%
personal opinion.
of students.
This is students who are just saying, tell me what's on the course. That's what a course list is. That's what a book list is. That's what a bibliography is. It's not a big deal. And the fact that you're making it into a big deal is exactly what it says in the report.
What is a big deal?
You have bad faith actors, if I may continue. You have bad faith actors who are stirring up division around this when so many organizations, most of whom usually disagree, are saying this is a non-issue. And then you have to ask the question, why do we have so much airtime on this? Why do we have so many people pouring money and resources, particularly so our government, into talking about this? And when you see it in the context of the policing bill, of all of the other bills that are coming through that are incredibly draconian, you have to ask the question, who is benefiting from this conversation? Because it's not students, because students are welcoming freedom of speech, and that's exactly what this report says. It said they welcome
it actually says the complete opposite. It says that
if you read it that way, of course it does. If you read the Daily Mail's...
Okay, so you see what I'm saying? So exactly. So basically, you hear what she's saying? So this is an agenda. She's coming with an agenda. The only time, first of all, what is a trigger warning? Okay, trigger warning is something that, okay, look, I'm getting ready to tell you something that may be disturbing to you. I sometimes say, like, actually, maybe in this video, a viewer discretion is advised. If you're sensitive, there's the door. Notice I say that in videos that may have content that may be sensitive to some viewers, right? But I'm not saying that to, say, hey guys, look, everybody gather around, let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. No, some of the stuff we talk about is some people find offensive, right? And I'm telling you, you don't have to watch. There's the door, right? But in school, it's different. They can't leave school. This is not YouTube. They got to stay where they're at and take the syllabus that they have, right? So, which I guess is her argument, because it's like, okay, since that's the case, let's start using these trigger warnings, but they're just not necessary. It's not necessary unless you're in a curriculum or a class that it needs that, right? That entails that type of trigger warning, right? Like maybe if you're taking a CPR class or you're taking anything that has to do maybe not even history, like, because there are some parts of history of our history, the United States, that are very grim, right? So if you're talking about Christopher Columbus, the real Christopher Columbus story, not the one they teach, because there's different Christopher Columbus stories, okay? The one they teach in school is not the whole story. If you're teaching the real thing, okay, yeah, I get it, because they did some wild stuff when they got over here that they don't talk about in school. That makes sense, but she more than likely doesn't mean that, right? So maybe it's just me. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going on a little rant, but bear with me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Back to the video.
It was literally, actually, I read it in the Times. There was the exact, there was the exact same survey done 6 years ago, same questions, and they published the results. It shows a massive increase in the number of students who want to censor
It's not
free
censorship.
speech.
It's about holding multiple truths, and the fact that we've got such a reductionist, reductionist, diluted conversation around freedom of speech that even when you're saying, I can never finish a point. What was the point of asking me on?
Listen, because I wanted to hear your view.
So please let me share the view.
But if you say something,
let me share the view. Let the
I know you're not used to debating at universities these days. So let me debate.
Clearly, you're not used to debating because you're obviously
used to just saying what you want to say, and no one's allowed to challenge you.
That is not what happens at universities. I'll tell you that for free.
Well, actually, we know that's what's happening at universities. And
when was the last time you went to university, Piers? When was the last time you were a student?
I was a student when I was 19.
Oh, how old are you? That was a long time ago. That is a long ass time ago.
You're being ageist.
Can I say that?
You're being ageist.
No, I'm just saying. Wow. That's a fact. It was a long time ago.
Triggered. Can you not? No, can you not?
You're the snowflake.
No. Yeah, you got to give it to Piers. Yo, Piers Morgan. Yo, nah, Piers' production team's on point.
Yeah.
Can you not be ageist?
You're the snowflake here.
Can you not be ageist?
All I'm saying is, how can you know what's going on at our university?
I'm just reading this report.
You're reading a report that says that students welcome a freedom of speech.
This is the Higher Education Policy
that says
Institute.
That students want to make sure that, yes, there is freedom of speech, but also that we're enabling support for students who...
Can I ask a question?
Campuses are students'
Can I ask a question without you getting offended?
I'm not offended. Right, you couldn't offend me if you tried.
Okay, great. Great.
Go ahead. Honey, go ahead. I'm a black woman in this country. You can't offend me.
I don't want to offend you. I want to give you my honest opinion.
Please
you give me yours. What is multiple truths? Because last time I checked, there's only one truth. Facts are facts. That's it.
That's not a very good philosophical outlook. Maybe you should go to uni. Maybe you should go to uni.
It's called the fact.
Anyway,
there's only one truth.
To answer your question...
Do you agree there's only one truth?
To answer your question, what does it mean? It means that it's both possible to enable freedom of speech, as our students' unions do day in and day out, but that it is also possible to make sure that we're hearing the voices of people who, you know, our campuses and our communities of education are often the homes of these students as well. So when they're saying, I want to have the space to speak out about what's happening here, I want to have the space to protest, I want to have the space to share alternative views, that is them exercising their democratic right to freedom of speech too.
That's all fine. But let me bring in Teresa Purcell. She's the former president of the Young Americans for Freedom in Buffalo. Before we speak to Teresa, I want to just play a clip. This is what happened. She invited a prominent black Republican Lieutenant Colonel, Alan West, to speak at the University of Buffalo on a subject called America is Not Racist, Why American Values Are Exceptional. During the Q&A session, protesters began chanting and banging on the walls. West, who was the speaker, was escorted by police out of the event as protests continued outside. Teresa, you were with West and the police escort. You got separated. The protesters chased you into a bathroom where you had to hide for hours as they shouted, "Go get her," and we're screaming. We've got a bit of footage. We can't actually see you in it, but here's a bit of the footage from what was an alarming experience.
They're going after Tariq! I know! You're a loser! And the rest of your people are! Calm down! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Now, Teresa, I remember this incident. I remember thinking, God, a young woman who invites a speaker is basically in fear of her life from a mob that is behaving in such a shameful manner. What was it like for you? And what do you think of this whole report that's come out in the UK about more and more students wanting to censor free speech?
Hi, Piers. Thank you so much for having me on. The overall experience was really terrifying. I hosted Colonel West since a lot of colleges in the United States, and it might be similar in the UK, only host one side of the political spectrum. They only host speakers on the left. So with the help of Young Americans Foundation, I wanted to bring a conservative speaker to campus to talk about these important issues of race and American exceptionalism. And I think that the report that came out recently that shows that college students are not supportive of free speech is very alarming. And I saw this on my own college campus by just trying to host a speaker that they didn't agree with. They tried to run me off campus and tried to terrify me, and I was afraid for my life as over 200 protesters were chasing me. And as you said, I had to hide in a men's bathroom and call the police as they were shaking doors and screaming, go get her, capture her, we need to get Therese. So overall, I find it really concerning that students don't value free speech, as they seem to only value speech that fits their narrative and don't want to hear from the opposing side, which is what college is all about, is having those debates.
Right, well, thank you, Therese. So, Larissa, I come back to you. I mean, I presume you find that footage appalling, do you?
What I find is that the ways of...
Guys, real quick, you know the irony of all of this? The irony of, maybe I'm using the wrong word in saying irony, but whatever. The irony of all this is a lot of people on the left accuse people on the right for being dictator-like, right? Like showing this type of... But what's interesting to me is that they're actually doing, like literally physically not allowing just people that have a difference of opinion to come and talk about, right? I'm not accusing everybody. I'm not accusing everybody. I'm mainly targeting the college campuses and the college students. And honestly, that's very concerning because this is our next generation, right? There are the people that are going to be fulfilling these jobs, and then the people before them will be coming right after them, and they're probably going to act the same way, right? So unless we do something about it, and I do think this conversation is extremely important for that reason, and I hope things get better, but ultimately we have to stop. We have to stop letting people, just because you have a difference of opinion, right? We have to stop letting people bash you for that difference of opinion. As long as you're not can't speak today. As long as you're not injuring somebody, essentially, then, you know, you're good. And there's other stipulations too, but for the most part, you're good, right? Back to the video.
In which we talk about footage like that is concerning and appalling.
They literally chased a young woman into a men's restaurant.
So what happened
howling,
from
go
my
get
vision
her.
of
Do
that?
you not find that
from
appalling?
watching
Oh
that,
gosh,
from watching that,
from
what
our
I've
vision.
seen is that a speaker spoke and students also spoke.
And
That's what I've
speak.
seen.
They physically manhandled them out of there.
Manhandled.
And then,
they were
threatened this young woman and chased her into a restaurant.
They were chanting protest.
Shouting, go get her.
They were chanting protest.
So you think that's fine, that behaviour?
I heard no justice, no peace, which is a very familiar...
You think that
chant.
footage and what happened to her is acceptable?
I don't have a particular position on that footage because,
Why?
first of all, it's not from the UK and that's not my territory.
Right.
But first of all, I would say it's harmful to try and transpose an example from the US onto the UK, because here our students' unions are regulated by the Charity Commission. They have several measures in place that ensure that they uphold freedom of speech. We have speakers from across the political spectrum.
1 in 10 students in this survey said they wanted to ban conservative speakers.
Yeah, and countless students also, similar numbers, said that they also wanted to ban Labour and the Green Party and whoever else.
Why are they banning
any
of them?
Piers, if we're going to be honest, Piers, it's probably the president of the Tory Society saying kick out Labour, the president of the Labour Society saying kick out Tory. The numbers are small. Let's not dwell on
do you agree that nobody like that
stuff.
should be banned? We should be hearing all voices.
Who's been talking about banning? Who's been talking about banning except the people who are
39%.
But in reality, I'm not asking...
Hang on. Let me finish. 39. You said that you asked me a question. I'm answering it. 39% in the survey believe the students' unions should ban all speakers who cause offence. Why don't you want speakers to come and be offensive and then take them on and prove them wrong? Damn them with facts.
Is that not what students were doing in the...
No, they were chasing women into restrooms and threatening them.
No, they weren't.
Shouting, "Go get her!" We literally saw what they did. We just heard her say what happened. She called the police.
So saying no justice, no peace.
She literally had to call the police.
Okay, so you're saying something I disagree with. I'm chanting no justice, no peace. Is that a problem to you?
You can chant what...
No. Okay, so this is the ignorance part. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. Okay, you can they're showing the clip to you. I'm sure they're showing a clip to you. I'm sure they have a big screen, right, where they're showing you the clip. You see them running in a certain direction. They're not just standing there and chanting. I've seen protests where they just stand and chant. They're not doing that. They are actively running. This is the problem. Open your eyes. Acknowledge. Yes, they clearly are running. They're clearly chasing somebody, and that's wrong. And then maybe see if you can argue an angle out of that. I don't know which angle you're going to be able to argue, but okay, you know what I mean? But to say, no, they're just protesting. They're actively looking for, like, they're moving in a direction. That means that they're trying to get somebody. They're looking for someone, clearly. They're not running for their health. They're not running for their health. I could assure you. Back to the video.
If you like, what you can't do is chase a young woman into a men's restroom and shout, "Go get her," in an intimidating, threatening manner.
Both of those things are exercising freedom of speech.
Let me ask you, what is a safe space at university?
What is a safe space? Again, this is the kind of thing... This is the kind of language that gets picked up by the media and spun into something that it's not. And it's
not
just
really.
Ridiculous.
It's your generation that has come up with this phrase.
Your generation. No.
You've already made an ageist joke about me being so old. I'm saying
it wasn't an ageist
your
joke.
younger generation have created this phrase, safe space. What does it mean? What does safe space mean?
First of all, let's clear the record.
Is this a safe space?
It was not. Hell no.
For either of us?
Hell no, this is not safe for either of us.
For either of us?
No, please no. But first of all, I want to clear the record because I did not make an ageist joke. I just said you went to uni a long time ago. If you got pressed by it, that's you and yours.
You triggered my aging anxiety, but I'm prepared to forgive you.
It's only safe when, clip this part, this is going to be, it's only safe when you're talking to people that are of your same party or agree with you. That's when it's safe. But it's not safe when you're with peers, right? No, it is a safe space. You just don't want it to be safe because you want to talk with people that agree with what you're saying, right? And maybe push back a little bit, but don't actually challenge you. This is the problem with the generation, which I agree with Piers, is I'm just going to say it because everybody else is scared to say it. I think they're a little bit soft. I'm just going to say not everybody, but I think that we're getting a little bit soft. All right. You could bash me for saying it, but I think there's some softness going on because, and I'm not saying that I expect this generation to act like the men back in 1980 and 1970. Come on now. Obviously not, right? We have technology. We have a lot of different things, but this is what's going to keep us behind. And I'm talking about America, right? Unfortunately, right? And honestly, I think, again, I'm just voicing, I keep it real. I keep it real. Back to the video.
Back to your therapist.
But what is a safe space? Are you suggesting I have mental health issues?
No, I'm suggesting you should talk to a therapist about your issues with
I think you're making a joke about my mental health.
I'm not actually. I'm recommending that you should talk to...
Right. You are triggering a lot of things here.
Stop clicking.
You see how easy it is to trigger? Here's my serious question.
Yes, I'm tired of that sound.
What is a safe space?
A safe space is about producing somewhere. It could be student-led, it could just be a group of friends, it could be whatever you make of it, but where you feel safe. Period. This isn't the name.
Why do you feel so unsafe? You've just...
In this country. Are you crazy? I feel Of course I feel unsafe in this country.
You just said that woman who was literally barricaded into a men's restroom, that you were perfectly fine with that footage.
I did not say I was perfectly fine with it.
You didn't
I
condemn
said that
it.
the people
Do you
chanting
condemn
no
it?
justice, no peace.
You just literally talked about safe space wanting protection.
Antithesis of something
when
is
she
not,
wanted it, you said because she's a
antithesis of
conservative.
something is not to support the alternative. That's not, please don't put words in my mouth, I don't appreciate it. What I did is I said that students chanting no justice, no peace, whether that's in the UK, the US, or elsewhere, is them exercising their freedom of speech.
Okay.
Period. That's what I said, full stop.
What is your idea of free speech? Final question.
My idea of free speech?
Yes.
Is people being able to express themselves, whether that's through speakers on campus, whether that's through protests. You know, students have always exercised freedom of speech. You know, whether it's the fact that NUS was the first national organisation in the country to come out in support of LGBT rights, whether it's the fact that students now speak so proudly in support of trans rights and black liberation and climate justice. Students have always spoken about freedom of speech.
Do you allow, for example,
on our campuses,
would you allow J.K. Rowling, for example, to come
on our campuses and in our communities, if I may finish my point?
You may.
Last question you said, but now you're adding another one. So we'll see. So when people are, you know, standing out on picket lines supporting the RMT or UCU or any other union, when they're doing that, students have always been at the forefront of freedom of speech. We've always faced backlash for it, and we're not going to stop it. So in my opinion, you're the snowflake because you're so pressed about it.
I understand. Would you allow J.K. Rowling to come to any university?
How is that? What kind of question is that?
Would you allow?
As if I have power to stop people from coming to uni.
Would you want her to? You're the president of the NUS. Would you want J.K. Rowling
what kind of question
to come?
Is that?
Should she be allowed to speak at universities?
You answer it then.
You tell me.
What kind of question is that? You and I do not have the power to.
As you know,
I feel like
she's been the victim of a massive, relentless, vicious campaign to silence her views about gender and sexuality. I feel like there's a
misunderstanding of how these events run.
Right.
The vast majority of speaker events in the UK that are student-led are run by student societies who are elected.
Simple question for you.
And they go to their students' union who supports them to facilitate events.
I simply ask, how would you feel?
So it's not for me to dictate who does and doesn't.
Piers, she's not gonna answer it. She'll never agree with you. She'll never say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, Piers. Yeah, I totally not. Yeah, no, she's not gonna agree with you, Piers, because for her to do that would be compromising her beliefs, and you know she's not comfortable with that, right? Which, in my opinion, I mean that's how she feels. It would be compromising her beliefs, right? Which I don't think so. I mean, when I have a conversation with somebody, there's some things that I agree with that they say. And some things that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to push back a little bit on this, right? But I'm not doing all this. I'm not doing all this. Come on.
On campus.
What's your opinion?
Well, I'm representing my members. I'm not giving you nothing personal. This ain't personal.
Okay. Well, I'm about to debate in a minute this issue of what is a woman. What is a woman?
What's that got to do with the price of bread, Piers? I
literally told you I'm about to debate this
I'm not on that segment. Bye. Ask the next guest.
What is a woman?
What do you mean ask the next guest? I said ask the next guest.
You don't know what a woman is?
A woman is someone who defines as a woman, period, done.
Anyone?
Next guest, please.
Anyone? Okay, I'm a woman. Is that, yeah?
I said next guest because that's not my segment.
If I say I'm a woman...
I know you're trying to chat me and I'm not falling for it.
If I say I'm a woman, do you agree I'm a woman?
I said next guest because I'm not falling for it. Bye. You're not getting your little clip out of me, your little audio clip out of me.
Without realising it, you may have just given me my little clip. That's the point.
That's wonderful for you.
That, ironically, is the clip.
That's wonderful
because
for
when young women...
Exactly, because you're not answering it, which means you can't make this up.
Can't actually say what a woman is. I think it's mad.
I am a woman.
You're a woman.
I'm a young woman who's very proud.
Am I if I say I'm a woman?
I'm very proud to serve a membership of students who support free speech, who work hard to make sure that our students' unions
said anybody who says they're a woman's a woman.
Who exercise their...
And we're proud of you. We're proud of you. We're proud of you, okay? We're proud of you. But let's be real. Just answer the question.
Democratic right to protest and do so in a way that is in line with the law.
Larissa, great to see you.
I wish I could say the same, Piers.
I just had to play that last part. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Where do I start? Look, first of all, I think this argument showed me kind of what I already knew, which is pretty much, you know, there's an agenda to be had. They come up with their agenda, right, that they have, which is fine, whatever, right? But not being willing to hear the other party speak and give your opinions and maybe agree to some points and then maybe disagree to some points. I'm sure there was things that... Here's my problem. I'm sure that there was things that Piers said that she agreed with. What I noticed is the things that I noticed that she may have agree with, she didn't even acknowledge, right? Because she's so hell-bent on her points, right? So that's where I'm like, yo, Come on, right? Again, amazing achievements this woman has achieved. So I'm not taking that away from her. Okay. I'm not bashing her at the same time for those people that, oh, you're bashing. No, I'm not bashing. I'm not bashing. But if Piers did it, I would be on his head top too, right? But essentially, yeah, you gotta have that you have to create a safe space. It's not a safe space because you're not acting safe. That's it, right? But anyway, guys, enough of my rant. Let me know what you think about this clip. All right, guys, appreciate your support lately. Seriously, it means a lot. I don't know if you could tell, but I got a new, little new cam. Okay, it's a little bit better. Try to increase the quality a little bit. All right, guys, and thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you slap the like button, kick the subscribe button for more. Until next time, peace out.